Happy 2021 everybody. Welcome back to Overhead Recipes. In this video we would like to take a look if a 4-hole steam tip is better than the standard single hole one. Again, if you like these kind of coffee videos as well as cooking videos, please give this video a like as well as subscribe to the channel. 98% of our viewers watch these videos but are not subscribed, so it'll be super helpful if you guys did. So a couple of days ago I received a private message from a viewer saying, "Hi David, I noticed bigger espresso machines usually have a steam wand with more than one steam hole. Would drilling more holes to our Breville steam wand tip help steaming milk better and faster?" And honestly, I know where the message is coming from. The steam wand of the Breville is probably one of its shortest, has its biggest shortcoming, so to speak, especially if you're trying to make more than one cup of milk based coffee drink. A lot of times the steam power is not very consistent and you don't get that silky milk texture as easily as you do with a bigger heat exchanger or double boiler machine, especially if you compare it with the professional ones. So the question is whether or not more holes is better for the steam tip. Comes up pretty often. So I went online and tried to look for one, and I found one, ordered it, and a couple of weeks later I got it, and I want to share with you an experiment and see if it's really better, comparing the factory tip versus the multi-hole tip. So this is what we have to do. First, we're going to compare the two tips. I'm removing the original single hole tip from my machine. Again, please remember that this machine is over 3 years old, so it might have significantly less gloss and shine than the 4-hole new one that you can see right here. And from the tip side, there's really not much difference aside from 3 more holes, but there are a little bit more nuances between the two tips, which I'm going to show you in a few seconds. So without further ado, let's go take a look at the nuances between the two tips and if they make any difference in terms of steam and froth production. So the biggest difference you can see is when it's placed on the side as well as on the top. On the side, you can see that the new tip is a little longer, and obviously it has a much bigger diameter in the input hole versus the output. So also when you insert this new tip, the 4-hole version, it actually fits a little less flush, when you first insert it, as if it doesn't fit, but align it well and you will see that it does fit perfectly. And once you tighten it up, it actually fits better than the original one, despite the fact that it's longer. So let's just start off with making some coffee. This video is not about making coffee, so let's just skip most of the details, or I'll just speed things up. You can see that I'm using a fork here to fluff up the grounds. I can share a link in the description on some of the tips that I advocate to make better coffee and more consistent coffee for the Breville, and I think it also applies to most home appliance level machines. I welcome you guys to check that out. So with this recipe, it's basically a 17 gram in, and we're getting roughly a 34 to 35 grams out in like 28 seconds or so. Again, it's not the purpose of this video, so let's just accelerate it and go straight to how the milk steaming goes. So here we have a jug of milk. I'm using Meiji full cream as usual. The steam wand has been purged ahead of time, so we should be able to get a nice consistent steam. Again, we're starting off with the original single tip and I usually position the wand roughly around 2 o'clock position, and I just let it run. So I insert it usually deeper than usual and then just adjust it accordingly. And sorry for this video, I'm moving the jug a little bit more than I normally do, but it's mainly just to get the camera angle visible. As you can see, the swirl comes in pretty consistently. You don't see a lot of big bubbles forming on top, but the milk is increasing in volume. And as you can see, the Venturi effect or the whirlpool effect is pretty consistent, right? Even if I move the wand tip a little, you can still see it spin pretty quickly. And if you take a look near the tip of the spout, as I'm showing you right now, you will see that the milk is borderline spilling over in the side, because this is a smaller jug than the standard Breville one. But it just goes to show how strong the spinning effect is with the standard tip. And that's a pretty great thing. You can see the milk right from the start is pretty shiny. There's not a lot of bubbles that you can see. Usually I just give it a light tap and it can get rid of 1 or 2 small bubbles that we have on the surface. So again, you don't see that big bubbles on top. And you know, I spin it around. This one is a little thicker than I would like, but mainly because of the fact that I'm recording a video. But you can see that it's pretty glossy, and the quality of the milk frothing is pretty good. This whole steaming process lasted close to around 45 seconds or so from the start, and that is the typical time it takes for me, you know, to heat up the milk accordingly with this full cream Meiji milk. And you know, the milk comes out really smooth and consistent, and you can make pretty solid latte art, you know, really quickly and really easily with the original Breville steam tip. But I know the main reason why you click on this video is not about the original steam tip. We have other videos to talk about some tips and tricks for the original steam wand and tip. So let's take a look at the 4-hole steam tip. Again, we have to swap it out first. Here we're using the Breville standard tool that came with the machine. Twist it off. Pretty straightforward. Just want to make sure that it's not too hot. And then here we got the new tip, and like what I mentioned previously, this is a little longer than the factory one, but it fits in pretty nicely. It shouldn't have any issues with inserting it. Again, I'm tightening it with the standard tool, not too much, just enough for it to have a good seal. And once again, we're extracting the coffee, and I'm using a scale to make sure I'm as close as the previous one as possible. And as you can see, I am also measuring my milk, and you can watch my how to not waste milk video as to why I'm not filling it all the way down to the spout. And I'm trying right now, and I literally am using this for the first time, so I'm trying to get the same positioning as the single tip one, which is, you know, positioning it roughly around the 2 o'clock 2:30 position of the wand, of the jug. And you know, my wand is not very angled, meaning I don't pull it up that much. And as you can see, you know, from the start, we're actually not getting a lot or as much swirl as we usually do with the original factory tip. And you can see that there's quite a lot of bigger bubbles forming, but it's not like those big bubbles wherein the wand tip is not deep enough. This is actually quite, like, the bubbles are pretty fine, but it's rising to the surface and it doesn't get incorporated into the milk that well. And you can see that it doesn't really. I try to move it around a little bit right now just to get the right angle, but soon enough, you know, the steam wand gets the volume increases so much that almost like a third or close to 2/3 of the, you know, of the surface of the wand is full by the time the milk is hot. And you can see right now the pump is still running, but the milk is not spinning at all. you know, it doesn't matter if I lift it up, lower it, it's just not spinning. It's like as if the machine is not working, but it is. So as you can see, it wasn't that good. So just to rule out user error, so I used another jug of milk to see, and I try to keep it as stable as possible. As you can see, it's really creating a lot of bubbles with this volume of milk. So I raised it up a bit and just to sink the tip a little bit better. And you can see the effect is the same. I try to find the sweet spot by tilting and moving it just a little bit at a time, and it's not really helping. I'm not getting a lot of swirls. I'm getting a lot of smaller bubbles generated, but it's not really like sucking in the air into the milk. It's just creating some sort of a layer of foam on top, which is very, very similar to entry-level steam wands that you see from entry-level Breville or DeLonghi machines, with the vent hole that adds more air than usual. And before you're done, you know, before the milk gets incorporated, the milk gets steamed up really quickly. I like to use a glass just to show you how it looks without the milk, just so you can see the difference between the two. If you're running the 4-tip steam wand like you can see right now, what I notice is that the heat really comes out a lot faster than the single tip. And that's a good thing. That means you can steam your milk a lot quicker than a single hole. You can actually get the milk to reach 60 degrees centigrade at almost half the time of the single hole. And that's a great thing. So here we're using a glass to show mainly how strong the stream is coming out of the steam tip versus as well as the swirl. And this is again the 4-hole steam wand tip. And a couple of things that I want you to take a look at is how strong the burst is from the steam tip to the bottom of the glass, as well as the back of the glass, how high that mound of water that hits the wall, how high can it go, and whether or not you can see that swirly conical shape, you know, left of the steam wand. And with the 4-tip, as you can see right now, you don't really see a clear like stream of steam coming out as compared to the factory version, in which you can see right now. And it's very, very prevalent. I'm using a little bit less water here just to be able to prevent the water from spilling out too much and making a big mess. And as soon as the steam starts with the factory wand, you can see that the whirlpool created is a lot stronger. You can see the bubbles coming out of the steam tip is hitting the bottom of the cup really, really violently, because we don't have as much liquid at the moment. And you can see the volume of water coming out higher on the glass a lot faster. You can see right now how strong that steam is coming out from, and that makes a big deal. It doesn't heat up the milk as fast as the 4-hole tip, but it does create better mixture of microfoam within the liquid itself. Again, you know, with a different angle, you can see how violent the steam comes out of the tip with a single hole. And if I lift the camera up a bit, you can see that the water actually is spilling from the back, even though I'm putting less water than the 4-hole, and the water is just splattering everywhere with the single original Breville tip. And what does that actually tell us? You know, do we have a conclusive result from this? Before we go further, again, if you enjoyed this video, if you like this kind of video, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It will really make me happy doing so, please drop comments and suggestions and your own experimentation in the comment section. That'll be absolutely awesome. So ultimately, what's the verdict? I guess it's pretty straightforward. My short answer is pretty much don't waste your money. The 4 tip obviously has its benefit in terms of heating up the milk a lot faster, but ultimately for making better milk, I don't think it's the best idea to do. I'm pretty sure that you don't want your latte art to look like this, which is pretty similar to entry-level machines or fully automated machines. I'm pretty sure that the Breville engineers are smart and they know what they're doing, and the 1 tip is actually calibrated to the pump pressure. So depending on what milk you have, keep practicing and just use the factory tip and go from there. Again, if you like this video, thanks, give it a like and check out our other videos as well. Alright, thank you so much, and I'll see you again next time. Ciao.